So he's like, well, you're high, and I don't like that. No, are you? He just looks right out, you're high. I have allergies, which didn't work for some reason. But finally, Austin Fish is like, this is ridiculous. We didn't do anything. And he's like, how old are each of you? I'm 16, Tim's 16. Austin Fish is 17. He's like, legal adult, stand up. So Austin Fish is like, what? Except as he's doing it, he's like, maybe this will teach you not to be such a smartass. Punk. Now at this point, I look Tim in the eyes and I'm like, when's Austin Fisher popping out of the bushes all this time? Because I couldn't believe this. I didn't know they could curse you. Or arrest you without, any reason. So he sets Austin Fish back down and he's like, can somebody bring me my water? Because he's still had a mouthful of food. So Tim holds up his water, he takes a drink, and he's like, can you call my mom? So he opens the phone and he's like, shut that phone! I didn't know I thought we were allowed one phone call. At least. Do we all get the same one or is it one apiece? Anyway, at that point he's like, all right, you stand up. Tim stands up and he's like, assume the position. He's like, what position? He's like, spread your arms like, we're in the middle of McDonald's still, I might remind you. There's a group of people. You can still hear Blondie McBlonde laughing her head off because she's not going to do anything about it. And then there are these two redneck guys, Jeff and Billy Bob. I don't know if the other one's Billy Bob, but it might as well be. Because every time you look at them, you hear banjo music. And they're just watching like, we were up in the high chairs against the window, clearly where you would be to hide out after a theft. We couldn't have been more obvious if we had glow sticks and we're just dancing. So he searches Tim, he finds nothing. He scans Tim's ID, and he's like, all right, you don't have any previous warrants. That's good for you. He does the same with Austin Fish. He pats Austin Fish down. Austin Fish has a knife on his keychain, but since he's old enough to get arrested, he's allowed to have a knife smaller than the palm of his hand. So that's always good. He sets those down, and finally he comes to me. Oh, me. You see, a couple of things about Game Club. We have some traditions. One of them is salt fights. We have fights with packets of salts and we're just chucking at each other. And my coat's just leaning against the thing. So the guy has me, I'm just doing this. He's got my wallet and he's trying to figure out how to get my ID out because he can't figure out that it's the top, not the side. He's feeling around. I actually saw him go through the top. He got my license to move part way out and then he went back into the side again. So I'm standing like this, I'm watching him, and I reach over and I'm just like, I pull it out for him, it's that funny. He's like, oh, thank you. Get back in the position! Okay, sir! Finally, after he passed me down, everybody's still watching, and somehow a crowd is forming just at the McDonald's. And people who aren't really eating, they're just kind of sitting in the booth, just like, what's going on? Which we can't explain anything about this. The lady comes by, she identifies Austin Fish as the person who hid the alcohol in his pocket, and she identifies Tim as the person who walked out of the store with it. She didn't ever mention a handoff, she just identified it that way. So apparently alcohol goes into one pocket and winds up in another kid's hand, and that's how they get away with it. Sneaky teleportation devices in ways. That's why Aeropostale is so expensive. Alright, so after he searched me, he looks up and he's like, is that your coat? Probably. But he's still patting me down while he's like, I'm gonna need to see that coat. I'm like, alright, don't move! And he's like, pack of cigarettes. He said that out loud. I was like, I got you, a pack of cigarettes. And he reaches into my pocket and he pulls out a deck of cards. Because I'm a grand Mao and that's how I roll. And he's like, what? He literally was like, what? He was furious that he had not found a pack of cigarettes in my pocket. And I'm like, I'm from Game Club, man. We just got out of Game Club. And he's like, oh crap. Because it's starting to dawn on him that the three teenagers in the black hoodies are actually the president, the vice president, and the treasurer of the school game club. We couldn't have been bigger nerds if we came in wearing suspenders. So he just finishes that search and he's like, hand me that coat. He's feeling around in my coat, and he pulls out a big old handful of salt packets. Big old only thing in my coat was a big old handful of salt packets. He's like, what is this? Salt packets. I didn't know what else to say. And he's like, where did you get them? Right over there. This is McDonald's. That's where I get my salt packets. I just put big old handfuls of them. He's like, why do you have a bunch of salt packets in your pocket? It's a tradition, sir. You kids have some weird traditions. He puts them back and he sets the coat away. I'm surprised he didn't open every individual one and snort it to check if it was cocaine. At this point, he has us all stand up and he's like, how'd you all get here tonight? There are no housing developments nearby. Well, I live in a home we bought, so there's that. But also, we drove. I guess it's not that. He goes, oh, well then let me see your cars. I'm like, okay. Now by this point it is pitch black because he has been frisking us in McDonald's for the better part of an hour. Which I feel ensues some sort of sexual harassment lawsuit. But moving on from that, and Austin Fish is still handcuffed, so we all walk out. I actually had to walk out like this, because he still doesn't trust us not to try and mug him. Even though he's been fondling his taser. Legitimately fondling his taser, and having already declared that Austin Fish was not only high, but going to jail for being high. Which he had not actually tested, he was just like, you're high. So we go out to the cars, and we go into the darkness, and he's searching around the cars, and like, you stand over there. I didn't know what to do, so we spend about 20 minutes as he searches around. He doesn't even open them up, he's just like looking through. Like there's gonna be a big old pile of like cocaine or magic, I don't know. Whatever's illegal these days. You know, like he gets up under the car and he's like searching and stuff, and I'm like, dude, we're not smuggling illegal immigrants, I swear. But I just try to stay back, because there's a 50-50 shot that Tim has a katana somewhere in that car. So I'm praying that he has permits for it. Or maybe we can, I don't know, kill him. Who knows? Maybe we can take it. Although Austin Fish is going to get tasered. There's no way around it. So finally, he turns to us, he has his line up, and he's like, well, I didn't find no alcohol. And he's got the buzz cut, so it makes it impossible to take any accent seriously when you got that buzz cut. But when he had the accent that sounded like it came with its own banjo, and he picked it up, really just made it so much worse for me. He's like, and he like licked, not his mouth, his teeth, just his teeth. Which scared me even worse. And he still was looking at us like, I know you did it. But he'd never actually seen a tape, and the lady couldn't figure out who we were. So he was pretty much just like, well, this was the part where I expected him to apologize for wasting the better part of an hour of our time and having us get frisked in the middle of McDonald's, and he goes, I think y'all have learned a valuable lesson about being creepy wandering through stores. What? Seriously? He looked us right in the eye, said that, and then started walking the long way through the shadows so that he wasn't seen by any of the McDonald's people who had just watched us get frisked for an hour and a half, because he didn't want to admit to any of them that he had found nothing except a deck of cards and a fistful of salt. So he's walking away, and as we're walking back, Tim's like, oh, my fries are going to be cold. He's just walking away. They're better that way. And he just keeps walking. Like that's an acceptable thing to do to a bunch of teenagers. So the next day at school, I'm just walking through school, and all of a sudden somebody's like, Branson, what did you do last night? I was like, why? I heard your name and your ID number come across the police scanner. Why were you listening to the police scanner? No reason. It was at this point I decided that Maybe I don't trust Officer Ruler and his tie that he had tucked up so that it came back out the top, which still scares me to this day. And that's pretty much it.